Here we are the next morning at the Hotel Mayella, and we're not going out in the Ford Explorer today. We decided tour bus. We're going to take an all-day tour, and the first stop is the Tule tree in neighboring town Santa Maria. And you can see how big it is compared to that big church, and you can see how small the people are next to it. Hey Bob.
That's off a big tree there.
There's a big tree.
I think more impressive than the width of the tree is just the texture of the tree and just how cool it looks.
Yeah. 2,000 years of growing.
Every section of the tree looks different. Look how wide that is.
Our buddy Emmanuel at the hotel said it was a tourist trap, but we really enjoyed it and ready to go off to our next stop. The Fabbrica. We learned how they wove cotton and wool into the thread and then how they dyed the threads. And one of the coolest dyes we saw was, check out this piece of cactus that has a parasite on it. And the parasite, they would take it off and guess what color comes out? Crazy. You can see where they trace the drawing onto the string, and then they do their weaving, the different designs. Next stop's the Atzompa ruins, and we saw this guy getting some lunch out of the trash basket. Now the Atzompa ruins were pretty neat because they actually used little stones and fit them all together. They cut each one so it fit perfectly, and there was no mortar or anything, just stone on stone, and it was really neat designs, really cool geographic designs, and there were even these rooms, and the whole walls of the rooms were like that. So that area was kind of like where they would have funeral celebrations, and then now we're going to head over to where they actually buried the people, and we're going to go down into the tombs. Hi Bob. Yeah, it's a little tight in here. I'm going to go check out the other one now. The tomb. Gotta get on my hands and knees. Crawl through here. But after the funerals, I guess this is where they buried the dead. So here's the Christian church right next to the ruins, and they actually built it right on top of their old temple, just to kind of show that their dominance, I guess, or that they're the true religion. So we're here where they make mezcal, which is an alcoholic drink, kind of like tequila, except in tequila it's more of an industrial process. And so these are the agave plants that they use to make the mezcal, and there's a bunch of different kinds. And once they're big enough, they cut all the leaves off, and they take the heart of them over to this pit here, and they have a big fire, and they kind of cook them to get kind of a smoky flavor to it, which a tequila wouldn't have that smoky flavor. And here they are after they cook. You can see they have a whole bunch of them. So then at this point they need to break it up into little pieces, kind of pound it out. So they have a big stone and a horse that walks around, and it crushes it, and so they can get it all crushed up. And then they put it in these bins to ferment it, and then once it's fermented, then it goes into the distillery, and they have that here. And then it ends up at the bar. Free samples, anyone? Before heading to our next stop, we went to an all-you-can-eat buffet, and it was like every local Mexican food you could think of, including cactus. Yep, we got to eat more cactus. There's the sign for the cactus soup. Then when we got to Hierve el Agua, we found the pool, but I think it's going to be closed for a while. So we headed down the hill to find Hierve el Agua. And on the way there, guess what we found? More cool cactus! Here's where Hierve el Agua comes up like a spring, and then it follows this little trail down to that. There's another place where the water's coming up, and then there's all the people swimming. And it creates kind of an infinity pool down there at the bottom where everyone's swimming. Now, when I first read about Hierve el Agua, I thought that the water was warm, but it was not warm. It was pretty cold. And there's Bob getting a selfie. There's a great view behind us. And it's a little scary walking along the edge because it does go down pretty steep. I wouldn't want to fall off of there. Now we've headed up the mountain a little bit, and there's another spring, and we get a good view of the first spring we were at from there. And this one actually had a nice sign telling you to be careful because you don't want to fall off this edge. It had a even steeper edge right there, and another great view, and just some more cool formations of where the spring came out. And there's another view as we're getting ready to leave, our last view. And now we're headed back to the hotel and the end of another day. See you tomorrow.